Good afternoon, everyone. It is Sunday, and we're talking about remote learning. And most likely, you're a middle school teacher. I have never really done a Sunday, well, maybe I have done a Sunday webinar over the years, but this is obviously a unique circumstance, and I really appreciate you being here. We are all in this together as much as we can, and let's just hopefully walk away from today's session with a little idea of how to get this whole remote learning thing going. And but it won't be perfect, and for obvious reasons. But let me introduce myself, and then we'll get into this. So this is me. I live in the Chicago area. You can see that I've held a variety of different jobs in my life, which makes it look like I cannot hold any single job. But I have never taught middle school. I was a middle school principal, but I never taught middle school. But I'm going to lean on my experiences as a third grade teacher and as a principal of a middle school to share with you things that are hopefully as helpful as possible today. This webinar is being recorded. When we're done, I'm going to send you a link to the recorded version, and then any questions that come in throughout the webinar. If the question has my, I, or me in it, awesome. Send that question. I'm not going to answer it. I'm going to tell you where to ask that question. And if the question is like how or something like tell me more about this, those are the questions that I'll spend time talking about. But those me, my, me, I want this, great questions. You're going to use the in-app chat in Otis to ask those. So before we get started, if you've seen this circulating around social media, it sounds like I want to join this family. Wake up before at 8, and then morning walk, academic time, and then creative time. I want to sign up. I want to live in this house. I liked this version I saw better. This is our house right now. And it's brutal. First day without school for us was Friday. And we're done. We are done with the idea of remote learning. So I don't want you to think that run an ed tech company and that I think that all of the world's problems can be solved through Otis. No, this is new territory for everyone. We're all figuring this out together. So all we're trying to do as a company is give you very specific ways that we can be helpful. And hopefully that's what we walk away with today. One comment. Remote learning, listen, schools exist for a very important reason. It's where human beings go to feel connected to one another. Because when you feel connected to someone, it's when you learn. That's why schools exist. Human beings being together, connecting, learning. That's what it's all about. Remote learning can maybe do that. I have no idea. But we're just gonna have to do the best we can. We're not going to talk about how to have you and your students using Otis for 8 hours a day to replicate what happens in their classroom. That's ridiculous. We're talking about how you can use Otis to communicate with your students and their families, how you can share resources with students and their families, and so that you can see how kids are doing. That's it. I have no idea if that's 8 hours a day or 2 hours. I have no idea. That's all I'm going to show you how to do today. I think everyone understands that that's the expectation. We provide technical support for any adult who uses Otis. So if your families are using Otis, don't worry about them emailing you, asking you how to use Otis. We support them through the chat inside Otis. So direct them there. You have your jobs to do. You don't need to be doing technical support. And oh, by the way, you also are a human being who has a life, and you're dealing with your stuff as well. So we're here to help you. We're here to help your families. Let us take care of that. All right, so let's talk about how I would start using Otis for middle level learners. All right, so you'll see my screen. Most people are here because they use Otis and they're just looking for tips. And so that's what I'm going to focus on. Just very quickly, so you know, if your school district does not use Otis and you're just an individual teacher looking for a way to manage this, Otis is free for you. It's free for all of your students. It's free for all of your families. I'm not showing you anything in Otis that costs any money, and there's nothing we could sell you. So this is not us saying free for teachers through COVID-19. This is us saying it's been free for teachers for the past 5 years. So just so that's what I just want to say. The way you will log into Otis is as a teacher, the way you log in at school is the same way you will log in at home. So for me, that's by using the Google button. Once I'm logged in, I see all my classes. Okay, so if you're familiar with Otis, you see the screen. Okay. Let me click on this middle school class. In my class, I only have 3 kids. So if you use Otis already, you'll have 20 kids in your class, or depending on what school system you're in, maybe you'll have 40 kids in your class. If you want to see different ways to see your list of students, use the toggle. Okay. This class info section allows you to add a co-teacher to your class if you want. So if you, in a middle school, that's a thing. So if you have co-teachers, go to the class info section, enter that teacher's email so that you can co-teach remote with them. If you need to add students, you can do that by email if they're not already in there. Okay. If you need to download a roster of your students so that you can help their parents get the right class or student code to log in, I'm going to share resources with you for that, but you can download the roster. So that's just a little bit about the class info section. So there's really 3 things that you need to worry about for remote learning in our view. First is communicating what is going on to your students and their families. The next thing is bundling resources together so that they can get stuff done. And the third thing is assessing kids so that you know how they're doing. Worry about those 3 things. So let's talk about communicating with your students and their families. Class board. That's where you are able to post things. I hate that word, but I used it. So tonight, I would create a post that says, day 1, and I would say, let's see how this goes. You get the idea, like, welcome, here we go. I'm gonna have it be on the right side of my screen because that's where I'm putting announcements, and you can include other things in this class board, but I'm just making it just like a text, just like whatever. Publish. All right. How else can I communicate? Go to the mailbox. The mailbox is one-way text messages or email messages to your students and their families. If you send a text message to students and their families, they cannot text you back. You're just saying things like, check the class board, or it's 60 degrees outside. Your assignment is go outside and get outside. They cannot respond to that text. If you email, it will go to the students and the family's email. If they reply back, it's going to go to whatever your district email is or whatever email you used when you signed up for Otis. You're not going to have to come back to Otis to check your email. That would not be helpful. Keith, I have no idea what my kids' phone numbers are, and I don't know what my family's phone numbers are. Okay? We have resources to help you there. If you click that chat button, you can either ask us or you can literally look for like phone numbers. And there may be a way that you can find like, you know, send a message to family members, and then this will give you like just like a pop-up next to Otis so that you can work through how to do that. Or just ask the question. Okay. All right, let's talk about bundling resources for your kids. Use the lesson module for this. I'm going to assume that you're going to use things like, I don't know, Discovery Education. Newsela is free now for the end of the year. Seesaw, I don't know if you use Seesaw in middle school, but whatever these, it doesn't matter. ESPN, although there would be nothing to read about. Doesn't matter. This is a place where you're going to bundle all those resources together. So I created a lesson called Week 1. And it's a bunch of activities. All right. I shared those out, or I'm going to share those out with my kids. And I'm going to log in as a student so you can see what that looks like. But I'm saying this lesson is going to everyone in my class. It's these 3 kids. You may also have groups of students, like you'll have IEP students, so you can clone lessons, modify them, and then just share those out with your like IEP students, your ELL students, your tuba players. It doesn't really matter, whatever you'll see. You're going to give it a due date, so we'll just say it's like the end of the week. And then you can choose to have kids complete the activities in a sequential order or not. I'm not going to do that. If a kid can do the last step of my lesson before doing the first step of my lesson, great. That's my personal opinion. You can disagree. So now we've bundled resources from all around the place into a lesson. Let me show you how a kid will see this. Students log in the same way at home that they would at school. They click on their tile, they see your announcements. You're going to say something like, go to the lesson, so that we can see today's lesson, and here's their lesson. So here's how they'll see it. So what I did, which you can do, is I created a welcome message. Good morning, everyone. I miss seeing you each day. And it looks like we're going to be not together for a little bit of time here, so we're going to do our best. You get it. All right. Once the student is done, they mark that as completed, and I'll show you why in just a moment. Then you're going to have them go to a Google Meet. Everyone's meeting at 11, and use the code Westman, and we're all going to hang out, and I'm just going to check in with you. So all we're doing is we're giving these links, and they're opening up in new tabs, okay? I want you to go do something on Seesaw. Here's the activity I found. Now, this could be anything you're using online. Doesn't matter. But you're not putting it in like a Google document and expecting the kids to like navigate through this, and then you're just going to assume they're finishing things and you don't know what they're doing. As they complete these activities, they're going to mark it complete. Again, I'll tell you that tell you about why in a moment. Next thing is a Google Doc. Click on the assessment section, and you're going to see an activity called Week 1 Writing. Click it. So now the kid's going to go over to the Week 1 Writing assessment. Click on Week 1 Writing. Now, this kid's turned it in. So as a teacher, let's go see what that looks like. Now I know I'm going fast. I'm not trying to train anyone on this. I'm trying to show you different things that can be done so that at least you know they can be done. And then when you're like, well, how in the world did Keith do that? Hit that button. So you give your lessons out, you sign them out to your students. Here's how you know who's doing them. I'm going to click on assigned lessons for my middle school ELA. And I see that Frank has done 2 of 6 lessons. Josh has not done anything. Natasha has not done anything. I'm going to monitor the day or the week, and we're going to see how they progress. So tomorrow I can say, see, some people are doing their work, but we have some others who are not getting it done. Or you're just going to like literally email Josh and Natasha and say, let's get it going. Now, so we've given them the activities we want them to do. Chris, the co-founder of Otis, has a colleague who's teaching in China. They've been doing this for 3 months. That teacher said that the hardest part is he's like, listen, we can give people Khan Academy for the first week, and then like that gets super old super quick. So these bundled curricula only last so long. Back to my point, that's why schools exist. Humans need to be together, and teachers connecting with kids. It's why the magic happens. He's like, the biggest problem is knowing how these kids are doing. How am I assessing these kids? So that's what I want to spend some time talking about in Otis. So there's different ways you can assess students. Simple assessments, advanced assessments, rubric assessments. So let me show you an example of these. My Auntie Diane taught for, I think, 117 years. She's never using Otis. She is not using Otis. And a remote learning day would throw her. Amazing teacher. Amazing, amazing teacher. She's also not using Otis. Okay? So let's talk about how can we help our colleagues? How can we, if you are teaching with my Auntie Diane, how can you help her? Our simple assessments are exactly what I'm describing them to be. True, false, short answer, multiple choice assessment that you can give to kids really easily. I created one. Here's what it would look like for the kids. First question. Tell me about the ways in which social distancing is changing your life. Obviously, we're not in school, but there's other areas and ways in your life and the things you do each other. We don't have to listen to me blab for too much longer, but you get the idea, and then they're going to give you an answer. Very short and sweet. Next question. Look at the picture. This is O'Hare last night. How would you solve this problem? Building these is super simple. All I did was I wrote the question. In this case, I already added a video. If I wanted to get like super cool, I would tag it with a learning standard so that I'm keeping track of, you know, what I'm asking my kids to do. If I want to add another question, I just write the question, give the answer, here's how many points, and I'm done. This is where I can add something like a video or an image or something like that. So a human touch on assessments, okay? Keith, keep talking about Auntie Diane, all right? I work with her, or I am her. Amazing, let me make sure I underscore this. The best, I had her, she's my teacher. Best teacher I ever had, and she is not going to touch Otis. So these are two separate things. If I created an assessment that I want to share with my colleague who's not going to touch Otis so that her kids can participate, I can do that. Click the three whatever these are called, ellipses, and send a copy. If you know her email, which you probably do, put her email in here, and you can send this to her, and then she can share this out with her students. Maybe she can't create it, but she can assign this out to her students, or someone can help her. At the administrator level, if you have an administrator account, so if you're a team leader, if you are a building principal, if you're a district administrator, you can actually do one better, and you can create these assessments and then share them directly with the kids for your teachers. So just know that. So that's a simple assessment. Here's another type of assessment, a rubric. So the challenge with remote learning is kids can cheat. Any assessment you give them, my kids are going to say, hey, Google, what is whatever? That is what they are going to do. And they will type down what Google said. Oh my God. Oh yeah, yeah, yo, whoa, whoa. Okay, Google, stop. Okay, Google, stop. I did not plan on that. I did not plan on that. I don't know if you heard that, but Google Home went off, so it may be a little quieter. The rubric assessments are awesome for this. So let's say you are going to give like a math test where they can Google the answer. Create a rubric assessment asking them to tell about the assessment. What were the hard parts? What were the difficult parts? So when your students are completing that, you can literally have them upload a video of themselves explaining the response. It's going to sit right next to your rubric, and then you're just assessing them. So the rubric assessments are a really cool way to evaluate a kid's response. But check this out. This was a writing rubric assessment I created. When you create a rubric assessment, you have the option to attach anything. So it can be, you know, like a PDF or a link or a picture or a video or a Google Doc. And when you attach a Google Doc, you can create unique copies of that Google Doc for all of your kids, similar to how you can do it in Google Classroom or Hapara or whatever. You can do a notice. So now in this case, the kids did a writing assignment. I have my rubric. I can collapse the rubric and just leave them feedback like I do anyway. Expand the rubric and actually evaluate them, grade them. Since I'm not going to see them, the next thing I can do is I can so it's Sunday. Okay, I know I'm doing webinars. I'm not really professional work ready. I'm sitting in my basement. So here we go. Hey, Frank, this writing was impeccable. I loved it. Thank you so much. I want you to work on the transitions a little bit. We've talked about that in school, but so far so good. If you have any questions, you know, just let me know. And feedback and save. And now when Frank gets this, after you've graded it, he can go look at the feedback you just left him. And then he can do the same thing. So again, just a way to kind of leave a personal touch on some of these feedback things. What time is it? 12:23. Final type of assessment that I want you to know about. We're enabling our item bank, which is actually a cost for everyone. So you can create what we call advanced assessments. So check this out. I'll just talk through what I'm doing. Math week 1. So if I wanted to get into this, if I really like building assessments, I don't. If I really liked building assessments, I can create my own assessments here. We have a bunch of choices for you. Fill in the blank, classify, drag and drop, highlight, math, graphing, the Desmos calculator. You can add rulers or protractors, whatever. So you can do that, or we're going to enable, and if you don't see this, again, let us know you don't see this in chat, and we're going to turn it on for you, an item bank. So here I'm going to say, I teach math. Actually, forget that. I'm going to search by standard. So math, I teach 7th grade math. Show me questions on, you know, this Common Core learning standard. And these are pre-built for you. Here's the question on the standard, add it. Here's the question on the standard, add it. You get the idea. You can change the points for each of these questions. You can see what standards have been linked, and then you're assigning it to your kids. So with this, what's kind of cool is you can assign it to your class, give it a due date. You can have availability windows if you really want to get into that kind of thing. But you have some options. So you can randomize the questions. Don't do this lockdown browser. It's going to screw things up for kids at home. I would think there's going to be no one in there to help them. It's a kiosk mode. It's fun. I can't think of a scenario where this would not drive me insane as a dad who would have a teacher do this. But if it works for you, go for it. We also can turn on like text help, which is for accommodations. It's a screen reader, different like helpful tools. Maybe you've heard of text help. Allow multiple attempts. You can set a time limit if that's your thing. So just different options for these advanced assessments, and then you're assigning it out. So then, for if you use that item bank, Otis will grade it, and it's going to be sent to your grade book. So you'll have either your standards, your points-based gradebook, or your standards-based gradebook. I don't think that we've done anything with standards yet, but there you go. Let me recap. You're not recreating your class, your in-person, face-to-face classroom. Can't be done remote. Cannot be done remote. You're trying to do the best you can. So the first thing is you're communicating. The next thing is you're bundling all of your activities using the lesson module. And then you're creating assessments and sending them to your students so that they can show you how they're doing. The bookshelf is the last thing I'll share with you. This is just a place for stuff. So again, think about it as the bookshelf at your school before the internet, or I'm dating myself. If you've ever taught without the internet, think about, I don't know, just the place where you, like all these bookmarks you have. Any website, any resource that you want to have access to, add it to your bookshelf, and then you're able to share it. If you don't want to put it in a lesson, just share it with the classes that you want to have access to it. Share it with the individual students who you want to have access to it. If you have student groups, share it with them. If you want to share it with a colleague, share it via email. You're also going to see resources that are shared with you. If you've logged in with Google, you also have access to your Google Drive. So I've said a lot. I'm going to stop talking. Know that if you have to leave, all good. Thank you for being here. We're in this together. Nothing is going to be, we are not going to be perfect during these period of weeks. And I assume no one else will be. So we're going to learn how to figure this out together. We're here if you need us via the text help. If you have questions, type them in. I'm going to stop talking for about 30 seconds so that I can look at questions. If you need to leave, you're going to get a link to this webinar and the answer to the questions later today. I'm going to pause and stop talking. You're going to either sign off or you're going to wait to see if there's any questions. But thanks for being here. And most importantly, be well. Hope you and your families are well. I'll be back in about 30 seconds. All righty. All right, first question. Essentially, do we have the different standards for different states? The answer is yes. If you're a free user of Otis, when you message in saying you would like to have the item bank turned on, we need to do a little work so that we can get the correct state standards enabled for you. So give us a few hours, maybe more. We're all in this together. We're going to get it done for you, but let us know there. I'm a free user of Otis. I live in Hawaii. We use these standards. Can you enable those for me? If your district uses Otis, if you are already an Otis client, the standards for your state are already in there and you're good to go. Let me pause and get to the next question. Okay. So the next question, I'm just going to pause my screen until I have to show something. Is text help only available for the item bank? Text help function is only available for advanced assessments. So whether you use the item bank or whether or not you create your own items with the advanced assessments, that's where you can use text help. Advanced assessments are more difficult to use than the simple assessment. There's just there's so many options, but those are where you can use text help currently. The videos so the question is, were the videos that I was putting in there done right there in Zoom? No, when you go to put a video either for a simple assessment or for like as part of the lesson, that's just using that's Otis. So there's no integration or anything. I'm literally just clicking that button that said, where was it? I'm just clicking the button for that when I'm creating the assessment. I'm clicking the video button and then I'm clicking record video. And here I am. So that's all I was doing. There's no special integration for that. I know Zoom, so we're using Zoom, obviously. I know Zoom is free. They've opened it up for free for educators. I don't know, so we use Zoom at our company. Adults all joining in on a Zoom meeting is like generally brutal for the first 3 minutes. People talking over, are you there? Are you there? I can't hear you. Can I see a bunch of middle schoolers doing that? Maybe, who knows? I guess time will tell. But if you have good experiences or like figure out how to make that work, go for it. But yeah, you can add those Zoom links right to the bookshelf and to your lessons. All right, let's see other questions. How detailed are availability windows? Down to the minute. This is open from 10:02 to 10:25 on Tuesday, and then from 8:15 p.m. to 8:23 p.m. on Thursday. You can set a number of any number of, I don't think it's any number, maybe it's like 10 availability windows, and you can get down to the minute. All right, looks like those are the questions, everyone. I'll put some helpful links and resources in when I send you the response when I send you the recording and the questions. But thank you so much, everyone. Hang in there. We are here to support you the best we can. We will not be perfect during this period of time, but we are absolutely going to do our best to help you as much as possible. Be well, most importantly. Thank you for everything, and that's all I can say is be well and take care of you and your family first. All right, so long, everyone. Have a great rest of your Sunday.